Hi, I'm Nick Netterola with AdWise Creative. Thanks for stopping by and watching. Today's big question, how do you start a podcast for beginners? Very common question. The nuts and bolts of starting a podcast are academic. Are you ready for the reality that comes along with it? After this video, hopefully we will be able to answer a few of your questions and lay a foundation that's going to propel you forward and keep you going for a very long time. Let's get to it. What is more important than the technical side? We'll go over that first. What can you expect in the beginning? Things start out, and when they start, what happens? And what's the one thing you can do to really cultivate your audience, to make that connection with them? And finally, one quick tip to help you give your audience what they're craving for. So let's get started. There's a very, very popular saying called, "Don't despise the days of small beginnings." Well, once you've got all your technical stuff all set up and you sit down and you start pushing buttons and hitting record and you're doing all of your editing and then you upload your podcast and all you hear is crickets. Believe me, it can be so disconcerting, but that's where it begins. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. You got to start somewhere, and the great thing is, chances are those first few episodes are going to be full of mistakes, flubs, double takes, whatever it is that you're going to need to do to get that episode on the air. Don't worry about it. Make those mistakes now. 99.9% of those mistakes you can edit out. No one will ever hear them, because if you're smart, when you're done, you hit delete. And there's no such thing as a blooper reel, okay? Nothing that they can hold against you in the future. So get those mistakes out of your system. You'll also start learning about microphone technique and what you need to do. There's a huge difference in microphones, from their pickup patterns to whether it's powered or not powered. That's dynamic versus condenser. Don't worry about that right now. My philosophy is, if you're not sitting down to record, who cares about anything after that? Your editing can be terrible. If you have no podcast to edit, don't worry about it. Your flubs can be atrocious. If there's no flubs, don't worry about it. You've got nothing to work with. So my whole purpose, the reason for this channel, is to get you to sit down in front of a microphone and start talking. If you don't do that, anything that you're worried about is irrelevant. Start small. The best thing you can do for yourself is do small chunks, all right? Don't worry about, the 30-minute episode or the 60-minute episode. Sure, that's probably what you're shooting for. Maybe even longer, whatever your format happens to be. If it's an interview, it's very easy to do 30 to 45 minutes and just totally get lost in time. But again, start small. If you need to talk to employees, start with them. Interview them, find out about their take on the business. There's got to be some really good quotes in there that you want your customers to know about, okay? Start small with 3 or 4 minute episodes. That's all you need. Get comfortable at the desk, in the chair, punching the buttons, talking to somebody, making sure that your microphone is right. There's a big difference. I think I mentioned this a moment ago. There's a big difference between talking into a mic like this and talking into a mic like this. You're going to have completely and totally different sound. Trust me, you want the up close and personal. That's going to play in so many different ways, but we can talk about that in an advanced class. What I need you to do is to sit down and start talking. That's the only goal at the beginning. And chances are the only people who are going to be listening, like they say, it's a cliche, your mother. Let her, okay? Just let her. That's where you need to be. Other people will join in, and eventually you are going to start promoting it. That's further down the road. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. You might not realize this, but throughout every episode of your podcast, you're slowly training your audience. Either unconsciously or consciously, you're training them. You're training them, and one of the first things is you're training them when these episodes come out. Are you going to release on a Tuesday morning? Are you going to release on a Thursday afternoon? That's a very common question that, frankly, I don't think anybody has an answer to. What's the best time to release my episodes? The best time to release your episode is at the same time you did the week before, or the 2 weeks before, or the same day of the month before. Be consistent. Are you doing weekly? Are you doing monthly? Are you doing bi-weekly? Whatever it is, you're training your audience, and they're going to come to expect it. And if they really enjoy your podcast, which we're going to try and set you up for that. If they really enjoy your podcast, they're going to be looking for you at the exact same time, at the exact same place. Now, what happens if you don't? First of all, the world does not come to an end, but it's going to feel like it did. Jump right back on and get it posted as soon as possible. You're training your audience. You're teaching them that Tuesdays at 3 o'clock is your release time. Try to stick to that as much as you can. And with the way you can pre-schedule things, there really should be no excuse for that. You should have that up there. Now, I say that with this caveat. Just this past week, I was editing a YouTube channel of a client and I missed the deadline. I was so swamped, I can give you a million excuses or reasons, but I can give you a million reasons, but that's not an excuse. You're training your audience, so please, they're expecting it, try to stick with it. One of the most important things you need to keep in mind is be patient. Nothing, no YouTube, no podcast audience, all of a sudden springs out of nowhere overnight. I imagine you could do that if you had several $1 million, but if you don't, and we're talking about organic growth here and word of mouth and maybe a little advertising here and there, it's going to take a little while. Don't think you're behind, because you're never behind. As long as you keep releasing on schedule, you are where you need to be. Think of it as pushing a car, and I use this analogy on several different places. Think of it as pushing a car. Your car's dead on the side of the road and you need to push it, okay? That first shove is going to be all of your energy, all that you can possibly muster, and your car's probably going to move an inch. You got to shove it again. And the same amount of energy is going to go into it, and you'll move 1.5 inches. And then another shove in 3 inches. But eventually, what's going to happen is it's going to start building momentum, and it's going to start rolling. And all you need to do now is keep your hand on the back bumper and jog alongside it, and every once in a while kind of lean into it just to keep it running. But boy, oh boy, those first 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 shoves are going to feel like you're going to die. You'll be winded. I don't want to do this anymore. We're not getting anywhere. Trust me, it'll all cross your mind. And now is the time when you need to double down. I'm sure you've seen all the pictures of, you've seen the picture of the guy who's like digging and digging and digging and digging, and the cross section is of the ground, and just on about 6 more inches is this huge diamond, and he gives up and turns around and walks back. That's about what it's like to be producing a podcast. Don't give up. Keep moving forward incrementally and be patient. All right, I hope none of this is dashing your hopes. I'm just trying to give you the reality of it all. Okay, so what's stumping you? Let me know in the comments below. Can I give you a little bit of a pep talk somewhere? Where are you in your podcast journey? Let me know down below. I will check all of the comments and respond to as many as I possibly can. So as I promised, here's a little quick tip for you. When you're first getting started, have 3 to 5 podcast episodes in the bag, ready to go, okay? And go ahead and upload them all. Go ahead and upload them all. Here's why. Somebody's coming around, they're looking for what you've been promoting and what you're going to cover in your podcast. And they listen to the first episode. Or let's just say their first episode. They listen to 1 episode. Wow, I kind of like this. They know what they're talking about. I want more. And if you've delivered 1 episode and 1 episode only, you leave them hanging. Wet their whistle. Get them engaged, get them involved, give them what they want. That's why they're here. So have 3 to 5 episodes already uploaded, and if they want to binge on 3 to 5 episodes, so much the better. So don't leave them hanging. That's how you really cultivate a loyal audience. You give them every reason to stick around. And the one thing we don't want to do is overlook that one reason at the very beginning. If any of this makes sense to you, you want to dive a little bit deeper, there's something you can do at the very, very beginning, and I've written it up, and it's a free download, a free PDF that you can go ahead and get right now. Click the link below in the comments and get your free copy of what I call Engaging Your Audience. The 3 secrets to skyrocket your podcast success. It's a bit of a mind shift. Some of it's hard, some of it's really easy that you can implement immediately. But some of it takes a little time. I discovered these tricks when I was on the radio, and believe me, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, it still took 6 months to sink in. But download this now, and you'll be ahead of the game.